All right. Hi, everyone. We're here today on Dropping Jules, and I have Jennifer with me and Shell, and we're just going to chit chat about our background and just have some fun. Yeah. Come on. Let's be excited.
Woohoo!
All right. So, whoever wants to go first, Jen, share your background,
Sure.
military background, and then Shell, and then I'll share. We'll do that.
Sure. So I'm a 20-year veteran. I retired from the military 7, 8 years ago. I was in the Army National Guard, and I joined when I was 17 years old. And I started as just a traditional soldier, drilling 1 week a month, 2 weeks out of the year. And after college, right after I graduated college, I deployed to Iraq. During college, I went to officer candidate school. So I was a new butter bar lieutenant, and I deployed to Iraq as a platoon leader for a fuel platoon.
Okay.
And we had operations. We had fuel farms in the south of Iraq, kind of spread out. I had soldiers kind of spread out, and then we ran fuel operations in the south of Iraq. I think we only did one mission up further north where it was more dangerous. But we ran a fuel farm in Talil and air base and all over the south. So, and then when I got back from that deployment, I went to the Oklahoma National Guard for a little while because my husband had gotten a job in Oklahoma.
Mhm.
And I was just kind of tired of being in Oklahoma, and I wanted to come home. And so to start that, I transferred in the Guard kind of at the last minute. And I went back to Montana. Well, long and the short, had a baby, all the things. We eventually moved back to Montana, and they gave me a full-time job. So for about 10 years, I worked full-time for the Montana Army National Guard as I was a HR officer and an ops officer, and I did another tour to Afghanistan as an HR officer.
Oh, wow.
And we ran operations, transportation operations in Afghanistan, but I was just what they call a pogue. I was just sitting in the office taking care of everybody in the background. So I did that deployment, came back and transferred. I was up in Kalispell, transferred down here to Butte, where I live now, was the S4 at the brigade level, and then got transferred to Billings, and I was the ops officer at the brigade level, and then at the battalion level, which is basically doing all of the operations for the battalion commander full time. So,
Oh, wow.
So I was basically the battalion commander stand-in during the month when drill wasn't happening,
Okay.
And then I got out and I moved back to Butte. So that's my military background. I know we're kind of focusing on military. When I got out, I became a program manager for an engineering company. We design and build mixers. And when I decided to go into real estate, trying to get into it full time, I went part time at that job. And right now I'm inside sales for that mixer company. So
thank you.
That's my background.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Shell, you want to go next?
You can.
Okay, I'll go next. Sure, no problem. All right, so Julie Kolat, so Air Force, as it's on the background there. So joined the military. I joined the Air National Guard as well. I went in and enlisted. I was in aviation resource management, so basically working with the pilots, ensuring their paperwork and everything was ready to go. Then decided to get into pilot training. I was selected to go into pilot training, UPT Columbus Air Force Base. Didn't quite make it out of there. Found out I had vertigo, and it was a whole ordeal. But didn't want to give up my officer training, so I went into Intel. So I did like 14 years in National Guard. And then I got into sales with Verizon, and then, well, it kind of works simultaneously. With the Guard, you have you drill, but I was deployed quite a bit. Then worked with Verizon for a while, got out of that, was a sales manager, and just wanted to do something different. I think when I first initially joined the military, it was either military or real estate, so I had a passion for for real estate, even right when I was going to join the military. Then, while I was in the military, they paid for my real estate license. So it was a program that the military had, like boots to ground or something. So they paid for that. Found that I didn't really like traditional real estate, like showing properties. So then I got into property management, where I still currently work, which is great because I got to work with investors, work with off market properties, and loving that. And it just kind of transitioned into my passion for real estate. And now my main vision is providing affordable housing for 500 veterans. So that's what my focus is on, using the co-living strategy. So here we are today. It's me in a
Awesome.
nutshell.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
I
Well,
forgot
so
to actually say what I'm doing in real estate, but
Oh, sure. Yeah,
we
yeah.
can I'll say that really quick and then we'll give it over to Shell. So my Mount Everest is to provide a an ecosystem of housing and jobs for the less fortunate, and one of those categories is definitely veterans. So
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. All right,
so
Shell.
my my name's Michelle De La Pena, and I started 20 August of 2023 through passive investing with one mentorship,
Mhm.
and then went into three different funding options and went into one commercial building and three
Mhm.
different houses in Jacksonville, Florida, with JWB. Then I moved on to 2023 to 2024. I knew I was going to put my boots on the ground and was going to actually get more involved in real estate than just passively.
Mhm.
So I went to New York to start off from actually being on Wall Street and come out from there. So experienced that, came out from there, got into private money lending, and had the opportunity to invest in a house that is on backyard is the redwoods. So kind of a nice opportunity right there in California.
Mhm.
Helped the person do another house there as well. And then I've been helping locally a guy grow his business. And then I have done fractional and I have done ground floor. So crowdfunding, learning how that works. So learning how the private money lend works, learning
Mhm.
how crowdfunding works, and then being able to this year get into my own fix and flip opportunities where I myself am actually doing so I'm JV on three properties right now, and just trying to figure out the process of being able to raise a private funding for the veterans, because my husband's grandpa was a highly decorated three Purple Heart military man who, when his boots landed on the ground, he in Normandy, the war was done. So it was
Mhm.
kind of a big impact on him and a big impact on the family because of it. And then I went to a graduation ceremony at the for the Air Force and experienced, as I said to Jennifer earlier, experienced the planes fly overhead. The show was pretty impressive, but afterwards, we went to like their party, their military party,
Mhm.
and that was my experience of seeing how hard and fast everybody had to go and how intense
Mhm.
and how fired up they got to go fight for our country.
Mhm.
And I was impacted by that. And then I had my daughter do enter into patriotic honor guard and do a theatrical performance for the veterans. And then we've been working with Operation Employ Hope and building care packages for the active military that may be suicidal so that they have a place to reach out to someone and get the help that they need. So,
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. Wow. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah.
And then also for your, just your love of it and experiencing it. And Jen, thanks for your service as well. So
You too. You
you're
too.
welcome. You're welcome. So how did you two meet?
Jackson.
Shell, how did we meet?
Jackson Pierce pulled me in to a deal that we were glancing at, and Jennifer happened to be in that deal, but we didn't end up actually getting together in the deal. But Jackson Pierce was like, "You're gonna love Jennifer," and he just really thought highly of her and was very respectful about her. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome.
Yeah, and Shell and I are in the same prayer group, a real estate prayer group that we have. I keep on missing the meetings on Friday mornings, but we kind of help each other out in there too.
Is it called Sunrise by any chance?
Biblical REI.
Oh, okay, okay. It's a different one. Okay, awesome.
Yep.
So, well, thank you. I appreciate you guys jumping together. So, Shell, Jennifer thought it would be great for us to connect because she asked me if I was interested in setting up a veteran fund. And I'm like, yes, we all need money for the properties. So I have one of my partners, he has properties that we're converting right now to house veterans in Houston. So I'm flying out to Houston to meet up. We're going to film some content right before Dallas, Jen. So I don't know. I was just expressing to Jen that it takes a little bit to get set up. But in the meantime, we can work together to, I have pad splits, someone who has pad splits in the Atlanta area. And we're just looking for end buyers. They're all turnkey. They come with operators. So I don't know how we can work together, but we're just going to brainstorm and, figure this out.
Well, through my investing opportunity with my first mentorship, I was able to get in with a veteran who came from humble means to graduate as a West Point graduate and is in commercial and is doing very well and I'm in 2 funds of his.
Mm-hmm.
And so he is super excited about the idea of me doing this and is really, really interested in encouraging me and supporting me, depending on what that would look like. And I have a person that I know that needed money for a pad split that she was going to do. And she had come to me about that. And I was like, I'm not sure. I'm still working on this, but that's when I ended up reaching out to Jennifer about the funding. And then Pia had also suggested the idea of doing actual funding for the veterans. And she has a lot of connections. And she was interested in introducing me to other people in that way as well. So I think there is probably many opportunities to connect with different people and be able to make a positive impact in this way. And as we do learn how to do the funding in a successful, positive, but healthy boundaries kind of way, then we can get into more opportunity in the future to be able to do other outreaches of the veterans. I think because as Jennifer and I were talking, there's a lot of offshoots from the things that people deal with when they come out of the military or when they are vets or whatever. So maybe Jennifer could talk about that part since she is actually one.
Yeah. So when so my goal is kind of more wider, but I think veterans fit in all of the categories, right? everything from having addiction problems to having mental health problems, to even having issues with the law. So I think there's for me there's a lot of different categories, but veterans kind of end up in several of those categories, including the mothers and children category that I am actually the most passionate about. So I think that's what Shell was talking about, is a lot of people really have a passion for helping veterans specifically. But I think there's a need for a wide variety of people, but to start in one area is very helpful. And then as we get services set up and everything, it may make sense to branch out further. So I think that's kind of what you were talking about, Shell.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, because it, as far as what yours were for the less fortunate, it could be anyone, right? And it branches out, what's it, outage, foster youth, single moms, abusive, domestic violence. So it could be, and they could be a veteran or not, so I like that you have a product cap. So that's great. I just, are you guys looking to work in a certain area, or does it not matter?
National.
Nationwide. Okay. That's perfect. Yeah. That's better yet. So what does Jackson, I know he comes across as a Gator and a PML. Does he raise money as well? Like, does he do raising capital? I should probably have a call with him, but
yeah, we should probably get with him on his exact, like, Mount Everest. I've talked with him a little bit. One thing that we've talked about doing is collaborating on an education system for veterans, specifically ones that want to invest. So talking to them about being able to, because once you retire, as you know, Julie, we've got our
TSP.
What's that?
Our TSP.
Our TSP, yes. We've got our TSPs, and we can easily move those over into other investments. Of course, we want to find very safe investments for people, but I think that investments that include helping their fellow veterans is a great way to, motivate people to want to invest. And I just think that education piece would be very helpful. And so I think that's what he and I have really talked about, is how we can educate people in how they can invest in these projects that can give them double-digit returns, sometimes better than the stock market, and really help each other, and I know that we're all about camaraderie and helping each other out. And so that's I think that's the main thing that Jackson and I have talked about, is how to get that education piece going.
Yeah, I never really thought about that, but Ricardo, he's a firefighter, and Jesus in our group, we put together a chat, so I'll have to invite you to that, talking about like first responders and military, using those funds and loaning it. So that would be part of the educational piece that we can talk about. So we wanted to fill some content while we're at Squad Up. So I'll definitely invite you to that chat. So I think
awesome.
As far as your connector role, tell me a little bit what you do there, because I think we can have the opportunity to work there, and with Shell and her funding part of it.
Right.
Which, if we have the money, I have the properties, and we can work with veterans to get them placed. That's the links.
Yeah, those are all the links. So what I've been doing the last couple of years is basically capital raising, but it's on a one project, one lender, or 2 or 3 lenders at a time. And so I just call myself a connector. When a borrower comes to me and they have a project that meets my criteria, then I go out and try to find a lender to match them up with. Okay. So I underwrite, me and my partner Tammy, we underwrite the projects together. And we do have an underwriter who works with us as well. And we put together a whole packet interview the person, sometimes live with lenders on, sometimes not, just depends on the timing.
Okay.
And be able to present the whole package, the person and the deal together, so that everybody gets it's really an easy way, because a lot of PMLs, they're trying to get all the information and they have to ask for everything and request it, and it's really hard. So we just have one package and we just help collect it and put together. We just did one for Greg Cole. Have you met Greg Cole?
Yeah, Senator Greg Cole. Yeah.
Yes. So we are doing his, he's got a new property. We helped him he's got a first position up in Michigan, so that we're helping him raise for. So,
Awesome.
so yeah, as long as the project meets, criteria, specifically, can you actually get the money back out of
right.
the project
Get the
when you put it
out.
in, right? Is it not going to be
That's
overextended?
Yes.
Can you afford the payments? Can you afford to pay them back? Those kind of criteria. On a fix and flip, it has to sell for the right amount and refinance. On a BRRRR, it needs to be able to refinance, right? So, and there's other strategies like just having a PML stay on for a longer amount of time, and it will all depend on the lenders and what kind of lenders we can get on. If we can get, Pace has his different categories. He's got the gators, he's got the sharks, the whales. So we need some whales. We need some whales.
Some whales, yes.
Yeah, people that just want to put their money in, get that nice return every month for a year, 2 years.
Months, yeah, that would be awesome. That's what I'm hoping.
That's what we need, and that's why I really think getting some education out there to some veterans, first responders, and because they're busy, they don't want to.
Right.
They don't want to be hunting down their borrower and all that. They just want to put it in, get their monthly payment, and those are the kinds of people we want to work with and help find good investments that they're also passionate about. People are going to be much more happy investing in something that actually fills them with a sense of fulfillment as well.
Okay, that's perfect. So if would you, as far as the borrower that's coming in, you interview the borrower with the lender or not always? Do you vet them?
Yeah, so we do pre-vet. We always pre-vet. We do, it kind of depends on the person, but we do background check, and right now we just use a rental program. Like if you were to rent a property, we'll run that. And if we haven't worked with somebody before, we'll run that background check and do some pre-checking on some of that stuff. We always recommend any private money lender also do their check, get the background check from us, and do all their own checks. But we check them out and we pre-interview them. We go over the underwriting and we go over everything with them, so that when they can see where the project looks from the private money lending side. Sure. And they can understand that. And then we can agree on the terms and go, oh, this is what makes sense on the terms. So that's kind of how we do that.
And is there a certain range that you're going to lend as far as the principal? 500,000 a minimum to a max?
Well, so anything less than 30,000 doesn't make a ton of sense to at least go through us. Now, of course, since we're doing this more for our passion and stuff, we can work some of those things out. But and if we're working together separate from my other company, we can work all that out. That's something else. But usually, 30,000 to, we've helped people find funds. I just raised with Jordan Reyes 600,000+. So it just depends on the project. It depends on the security. It depends on the passion people have, and the operator and the confidence that people have in that operator. I feel like I actually missed a piece of your question, which was oh gosh, dang it. Because the question you asked me before, I think I skirted it a little bit. So I'm not sure. Do you remember it?
Going off the top of my head. So
I
don't
think people usually don't necessarily borrow out for if they have a fund for less than 50 usually.
Okay.
And often that's in the earlier stages. And then they get into not really borrowing out under 100.
Okay.
So I think it would be a conversation with Jennifer and I as we grew the fund, what makes sense to borrow. And I think like her and I want to see people be successful, and we want to see people be able to impact for the veterans. So it really does depend on it, but I would say it would probably be 50 would be our lowest
Lower.
one.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, for sure. And Shel, while you're at it, can you tell us about fractional a little bit and your experience with fractional? It's something that I'm starting to learn. So if you want to share that, and Jen too, if you want to chime in with fractional.
Well,
What do you think?
I think the thing about fractional is, well, I'm going to start with ground floor actually.
Okay.
So the thing about ground floor is you can get in at 100, like $100,
Oh,
and
I
you
think
can, yeah,
100K. I was like,
yeah,
oh,
exactly.
okay,
No, like,
$100.
Oh,
Okay,
just $100,000.
yeah.
No big deal.
Okay, $100. Okay.
and you can invest as little as $10 on each on each project. And so it's great for like teenagers trying to learn how to do this. It's great for that kind of experience, or if you're a little nervous and you haven't done it before and you want to watch how it works, like it's a good opportunity for that. But then the next step up would be something like fractional, where it's like 5,000 is the minimum, and then you're growing from there. And so people can get in. Well, and I do have to say that I have noticed that on the fractional with Pace, he's bent the rules a little bit. Obviously, Pace always bends rules just a bit.
That's why we love it, right?
So he likes to get creative financially. Anyways, but yeah, and so, but in general, it's usually about 5,000 is their minimum. And so, what were you going to ask after that? I'm sorry.
Um, as far as using the platform, when would you recommend it versus just using, just outside capital raising, or should you try doing both simultaneously?
I think that, so I have done them, as you know. Fractional is nice in the fact that you have someone else that's doing all your paperwork, right? They're doing everything for you. They're advertising for you, they're collecting for you, they're managing for you, they're reminding probably you, they're just doing. I haven't actually used them on the side of receiving money as much as I've used them on the side of investing finances.
Okay.
But I am pretty aware because I talked to them just because I was trying to figure out if that was something I wanted to do in that manner. But I've also had a chance to talk to a hard money lender, and well, a few actually hard money lenders, to learn how they do their funding and how they do their raise and what they do to raise their money, and the different outlets that you can go into, medical places like Blue Cross Blue Shield or whatever, and are able to advertise. Often they will have lunch hour where they do lunch and learn, and so they are able to learn about receiving the opportunity to be in the funding program so that they're able to use their money in a way to be a positive impact and do a passion project and still receive finances back. So
That's awesome. Okay.
And that's going to be the raising the money for the fund from accredited investors most of the time, right?
Most of the
That's
time,
the way
right.
they go.
So I think with fractional, one of the reasons why I like it, it's not accredited, right? So anyone that has like 5K and now I'm learning of ground floor. I have to look at that shell. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that, just to see the
That's so
process, right? So I think that's worth looking into. Um, as far
I've
Sorry, go ahead.
I've actually done so I haven't actually got something funded through fractional, but I've done the process, and it just happened that they were great. But it just happened that we got all our funding outside of fractional, and it didn't work out through them. But the process was really great. They showed me how to do a successful project in there. And
Mhm.
I see you in there, Julie. You're ramping up. I see you
I
posting, which
am.
is great. I see you just doing some informational things, and we'll talk about the two different methods on
Yeah.
fractional, but it can be project based, or it can be just almost like a fund. When
Yes.
people, you can just say, these are the types of projects I'm looking for, and people can commit money to you, and then when you have a project ready, then you can vote on it. So it can
Sure.
be project specific or more like a fund, which is really cool. And that's what you're building in there. What I'm seeing is you're building that kind of atmosphere for like getting ready to do more like the fund version, is what it looks like to me.
We do.
um
No, I love that, and I could certainly use your help and your expertise, and we can, collab on it together. As far as I have properties in Houston that we will be raising when I'll be heading there, and then in Atlanta. So I already have properties that if someone's willing to purchase, but they may not have funding, how can we help them raise the money? So I want it to be like a one-stop shop. So we're going to provide the underwriting for the pad split and everything, the operator. But some of the people who are wanting to get into the pad split space, they don't have the funding. So how can we provide that part of it? So maybe something that we can, noodle around with.
Well, and I think there's a need for people who are like Amazon, Jeff Bezos, and other people
Mhm.
have a need to donate for tax purposes a
Mhm.
certain amount of funding. And so there's major corporations that can invest into things like this for them to be able to make an impact, a positive impact, but not um, get lost in the details.
Mhm.
If you have someone that's a TC or someone that's handling some of it, it makes it easier to fund and
Yes.
to work in that atmosphere. So kind of having some information coming to me from a few different locations,
Mhm.
from a few different ways of yeah, raising money or having money invested out. So yeah.
And how do you get in contact with these people? Would it be more like an angel investor or more of like a passion project?
I just have stuff coming to me
That's awesome.
from a
Bring
few
it
different
in.
locations.
Bring it
I
in,
think,
lady.
I think my name has just gone out there a little bit, maybe. I don't know. But I do a lot of things behind the scenes because I'm not huge about at this moment about social media.
Mhm.
Myself personally, just because my daughters were not a super huge fan of me doing that. So all
Mhm.
is well. But I want the impact, I want the change, I want the positive pieces of the jobs being accomplished, of housing being accomplished, transportation being accomplished.
Mhm.
There's just things that I would like to see accomplished.
Sure.
Um, so it's more for the actual integration of the
Mhm.
pieces than just the social aspect. So yeah.
Okay. Well, we respect that. So I was totally, when I was in Intel, absolutely no social media, but now it's a different with Pace. He's like, got
Oh, so
this.
different. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm trying. I'm not the best at it, but
you're
um,
doing good. You're doing good.
just once a day, just putting some stuff out there and getting some content up. But I can certainly learn from others. So definitely open to that. But how do we collaborate and work? What do I need to bring to you, Michelle, to fund? Like I said, I have investors that have properties that are willing to switch them over to co-living to help veterans in Houston area. I don't really have the agencies ready yet in Georgia, in Atlanta, but Jen, we can place anyone that needs help. So it's definitely helping the affordability issue. Um, I don't know. Where do we go from here? I'm open.
I think that there's a few pieces that we're growing in still. So I was talking to Pia, and she was mentioning that there is even our local group. Pace is doing a No One Left Behind series for the military edition team, and that is with YAVONFONOTI. I'm not sure how you say that. So, do you know who that is, Jennifer?
No, YNB.
Here, let me say it again. So it's YAVON, Yavon, FONOTI, Fontan.
Fanati?
Huh?
Yvonne Fanati? I know.
Maybe
Yeah.
that
Okay.
could be.
They're
Yeah.
in Sep too?
Yeah. Yep. And so she's doing a No One Left Behind series, and she's a veteran, and then they're doing the what was it? The uh, Veterans Wealth Strategy. They're also connecting with the what Veterans Wealth Strategy.
Okay.
So, and I know that yeah, I just know that the one of the exes of one of the exes of Jeff Bezos is planning to invest towards the veterans.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. So there's different pieces I'm aware of, and
It sounds like we just need to get some projects out in front of some people.
Yes. So Jen, maybe we can, collaborate on fractional and some, getting it out there. Shell, you don't happen to have Jeff's number in your Rolodex, do you?
have Jeff who?
Bezos.
Oh no! Oh, you're too funny.
People are gonna tell me
I mean, you never know.
I love it. I love it. No. I have a variety of investors and a variety of hard money lenders, but no, I don't. No, I don't have that.
All right. Yeah.
So you said you have a variety of investors. Do you have them categorized on what they would be looking for? And what their return, like what they'd be looking for their projects and returns, and or any of that we could like target?
Well, I think that I have found that I have certain people coming to me because they've seen me be able to get up to 30% return on my deals. And some of that is through fractional, whereas with ground floor, you would see more like 13 is usually the highest number you can get.
Okay.
So it kind of depends on where you go, is what you're going to receive. Oftentimes, 10 to 12% return on your funds is pretty normal for funding. As far as if you're funding a fund, that's usually normal to receive that in return. I think that there's certain people that will pay less. Or receive less, I should say, receive less interest. And it does depend on what is the return that they can get for their 401ks or for their own taxes or things. Like sometimes people are in certain positions and they can't receive more of an interest rate because of their own personal.
So I would say, and this is what I tell a lot of, and I'm speaking to myself too, to be honest. But when you come across a lender or an investor, whatever terminology you want to use, it's trying to categorize those people and going, okay, we have a lot of projects going. We can almost handpick depending on what their goals are for them.
Sure.
right? And so if you have a list of people, and maybe a goal would be to reach back out to them and say, hey, what, if you don't have this already, what are you wanting to invest in? What kind of projects? And what, what's your, what's your return? How much involved? So a lot of the time, I don't think these lenders realize if it's a higher return, it's higher risk usually, and higher risk means more involvement.
Right.
So, if they're a doctor and they have no time for involvement, it's okay. We want to see that the property will cash flow, and there's room to pay me, that you can pay me on kind of the minimum cash flow. That's what if I was, not wanting to be if I was just wanting to be passive, that's what I would want to see. I want to see that the property can pay me, that the operators will be able to be successful and pay me my payment and exit me, in that whatever time frame makes sense. So I think that's for us, for all of us, gathering that information from people and being able to categorize them and send them deals that fit them, and if their passion is, our goal right here, and our focus is military, so that's the goal there, and then eventually building the fund, so it's just having that capital to just do a project when it comes, that's focused on.
I have projects, so maybe I should invite you into my fractional space so we can create it and see where we can go and raise the funds. I mean,
Okay.
it's worth a try.
Yep.
Well, and I am aware of one or two projects that would be beneficial to connect to. Sometimes when you have deals and you connect them, they can. Okay, I think this is probably the easiest way to say this. So I have a deal in Tampa, and the person that I borrowed the funds from has a construction person, has a title agent they normally work with, has insurance that they normally work with, has like the real estate they normally, so like they're like somewhat of a whole package. Actually, I have two of those. I have one in Detroit and one in Tampa, but so they have the whole thing connected to them, which can be super beneficial
Mm-hmm.
in that way. And at the same time, I have a co-living situation that I know of that is actually tied to the downflow um of Jeff Bezos' ex. So it really depends on, what's connected to those deals. And sometimes there's opportunities connected to those deals.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can have enough positive pieces connected to your funding, you can end up, I mean, because like even the no one left behind piece too, if you can connect all of that stuff together, it's kind of, it like allows for more opportunity. It allows for a forward motion, if that makes sense. It kind of like spreads out into other areas. I want to use the word spider web, but I don't want to use the word spider web. But I'm like, if you're like kind of connecting all these different pieces together, it can web it together so that you're weaving and,
Mm-hmm. So you need help with those projects, the one in Tampa and Detroit, or you have
no. I'm just saying like
an
being,
example.
yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And I was told you're like editing out some of the stuff. So
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. No, thank you for explaining that. Appreciate it. So what's our next step, ladies? Where do we go from here?
Julie, I think you, like you said, you are building out, you've been doing a great job of educating on fractional. So I think getting
Thank you.
a project on there is definitely these people. Do they already own it and they're willing to convert it? Is that what is happening right now? So our timeline is just based on getting the funding at this point.
Yeah, and it's quick. It's a quick, yeah, and they have the contracting team. So I can talk to you offline, Jen, or if Mel can be funding it. But I do want to put it on fractional so I can learn. And even if we raise outside, I'm fine with that. But we can certainly talk further offline on it and what that looks like. But this was just for a general idea of the different projects I'm working on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I guess that's the hard part is when you're gaining, I just in my experience, when you're gaining momentum, you want to have a timeline, but you want to know that that timeline can push. Yes. Right. So you want to tell people, you want to have a timeline because obviously we all want to hit a timeline and we want to have that momentum and we want to have that, what do I want to call that? That urgency, but know that, hey, if we are short one person or whatever, we can go ahead and still have time to get that last little bit of money or whatever it is. So that's why I was asking about that project in particular. Yeah. So yeah. So we can get a project out there and just get it,
just see what happens.
Getting momentum. Yeah, it's just get it out there and get people interested. Fractional does a great job of helping with the Zoom call and kind of some of the things that I do. So we can talk about which way to go on that and get to raising, and then Shell, you would have a project to talk about with people, or another project, and it sounds like you have a couple others, but this one would be veteran specific. And then as far as the fund goes, I think what do you see next steps as, Shell? I guess.
I think I want to connect with those that I'm already in relationship with and understand the process of next steps with that, because I know for those are accredited funds that I am aware of, not non-accredited or whatever. So I want to look into that a little bit. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. Sure. Well, that's great because Shell's working the accredited angle, and Jen, you and I can work the non-accredited through fractional and just raising capital in general. So I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Sounds good.
I love it.
Awesome.
Anything else you want to share, Shell?
I don't think so. Not really. Nope. I think we're good. Yeah. You were going to edit out some of that stuff though, right? That was kind of the conversation at the beginning with Jennifer.
I just like to, just wing it, post the whole thing, but I can go listen to it again if there's.
Yeah. Is it what parts were you? Yeah.
I think that,
Jeff Bezos stuff.
Well, just in general, I think just editing out some of the imperfections or whatever and cleaning it up, making it look better.
No, we like it. We're real. We're real. Faces like just show your raw self. So yeah, I don't edit. I've never edited.
I don't know that there were any imperfections. We're imperfectly perfect.
There you go. Right, Jennifer? There you go.
I love it.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, this was great, guys. Thank you so much, Jen and Shell, for joining us here on Dropping Jules and just discussing raising funding for Veterans Project, for specifically co-living or affordable housing for the less fortunate. So we love this and we love sharing, and we'll be back again to bring you some more information on that, especially educational part for veterans and how they can use their funds to help other veterans by the funds that they have. That could be our next topic that we're sharing on. All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks for inviting us today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Shell. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're